Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Dbacks Dispatch here, just a local Dbacks podcast. With normally it's four guys. One of them is a little busy, has a baby coming, and one decided that he loves his wife more than he loves his bros. So I'm gonna hold that against you, Josh. So I kind of see where we stand, but everyone, thanks for tuning in here to us on YouTube. We're also live on Twitter right now. So make sure if you're watching on YouTube to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you don't miss any of our future content. Make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. And if you're someone that gets your feelings hurt really easily, be better. Like, I kind of don't know what to tell you. We are not gonna sugarcoat it here over at Dbacks Dispatch. You can also check us out on Instagram and TikTok. We also have a Discord. It is free to join. The link is in the description box below. Make sure to go ahead and check us out. Excited to talk to everyone here about this recent series against the Mets. Unfortunately, we did lose this series, but we did end up tying the season series, which is a win in my book, just because of how things kind of went down last season, how we basically didn't make it because of how we did against the Mets in a 7-game series, season series. So I'm glad that all worked out. We did end up losing game one, 5-4. Ryan Nelson started this game, as it was reported on Saturday that Burns would miss his start due to some shoulder inflammation, but it does look like he should be ready to go Saturday against the Dodgers, so that's good. This felt like two different versions of Nelson we saw in this game. First 3 innings looked really freaking good. He looked really good. I was very pleased. I'm like, ooh, we may have a harder discussion. And then the 4th inning came. He struggled in the 4th. He had 34 pitches in the first 3 innings. Then he had 34 total in the 4th. So he didn't last too much long after that. Went 4 1/3. Only gave up 3 hits, 2 earned. He did have 4 walks in 4 innings, so that's a little much. But Gabe, how would you grade Nelson's start?
I guess it would be like a solid B minus, just because he did keep his team in the game. I mean, it's 4 1/3, so it's not like the best. He doesn't pitch enough to actually earn the win or anything like that, like the decision. But this is a guy who hasn't pitched, or hasn't started the game since late September of last year. You're talking about 7-8 months now that he hasn't actually started a game because the team decided to make him a long reliever instead of maybe having him stretched out in Reno. But yeah, like I said, I don't think this was a terrible start by him by any stretch. And if this was any other pitcher, I think I would give him like a C minus or D plus. But it's because it's Ryan Nelson and he hasn't done this in forever. And again, he gave this team a chance to win, and 2 runs, you would think, okay, that's enough. But then, Ryan Thompson came in, just, I know the whole thing with Ryan Thompson. People were saying like how great he's been. This is just who Ryan Thompson is and has been these last couple of years, which is 3 great scoreless innings or scoreless games, and then he'll have 1 blow up game where you're like, why is this guy still on the team again? And it happened in this game. He got, I believe, 1 out, right? 1 out, and then 1 out, gave up 3 runs, and then Tommy Henry came in and just incredibly clutch performance by Tommy Henry. But again, the offense completely just dead most of the game, other than that Gino single. But other than that, just pathetic all around. But Ryan Nelson, I think, like I said, he gave this team a chance to win. That's what you hope for. Being called up like this, not being stretched out in Reno, being, like a normal starting pitcher. So I don't think anybody was expecting him to go 5 or 6, just because even Torrey said 80 to 85 pitches is where he was looking to have him at. And that's basically what this is: 4 1/3, 4 2/3. that's usually where most pitchers are at 80 to 85 pitches.
Yeah. So, and I know that they like their plan throughout the season was if they were bringing him in, they were trying to stretch him out. So they would bring him in, and then they're like, all right, so we're giving you 30, 35 pitches. They did that for about a week or two. Then they would do, all right, now we want to bring you in, get you 50 to 60. Why not just have him down in Reno, start every 5 days, have him stretched out, have him ready to go in the event of an injury? Because like Nelson has had like a few starts, last time he faced the Mets there in Queens, looked really really good, but he's had certain outings. He like when like he comes in kind of as the long man, and he doesn't look very good. So he's been very up and down throughout this season so far. But I thought this was a decent start. I'd probably give it like a C, just because that fourth inning was rough. Like he did not look good in that fourth inning. So it was a walk to Soto. Then Pete Alonso hits an absolute bomb. Basically, he threw a high fastball, but he didn't get it high enough. And yeah, Pete is on an absolute tear to start the season. Literally, any offensive number you can think of, Pete Alonso leads the league in that category. So Pete is on he's playing really, really good right now. He bet on himself. He took, I think, like a 1-2 year deal to go back to the Mets, and right now it's working out for him. And he struck out Starling Marte, walked Brandon Nimmo, singled to Mark Vientos, strikeout Alvarez, and then a force out. So like it was a really, really long inning there for Nelly. Like I think if he would have not had like 30 plus pitches in that inning, I think he probably would have gotten 5 or 6. But like you're at 70 pitches when you're starting the fifth, and they're like, yeah, our cap's 80 to 85. So and he just didn't look good. And like what you said about Ryan Thompson, it's just what he'll have a couple of starts where he looks like he's one of our best relievers, and then we saw what we saw in this one: single to Alvarez, strikeout, double to Tyrone. Like I'm so glad we're done with the Mets because I'm sick and tired of Tyrone Taylor. I'm like, this guy is a role player, but he's like, we've played the 6 games and he looked like one of their best players. And then the big one, Francisco Lindor hit that homer, which hindsight being what it is, basically if that homer doesn't happen, maybe we win the game. But I want to give a shout out to Tommy Henry. I was so worried about Tommy Henry. Like I thought Toy was kind of punting on the game with Tommy Henry. I'm like, oh, he's probably just looking Tommy to get 6-7 outs so he doesn't have to waste any of his big bullpen guys. But Tommy Henry looked pretty good for the most part. And then he got sent back to Reno because they needed another fresh arm. And it's going to still be like that for the next week until our next off day, which is, I believe, Thursday. Because I think we have a 3-game series against the Giants Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So overall,
and
like
with Tommy Henry, like the Tommy Henry, the way he, like I did think the same thing. I'm like, damn, he's gonna punt on this game. Like this game's gonna get out of hand. And there's a reason for that. Like I know he pitches in the PCL, but he has an 8.53 ERA in the minor leagues. Like for a guy who's spent time in the major leagues, you think like, damn, like he's gonna get rocked. And then he did really, really good. He pitched amazing. So like I do want to highlight him specifically for this game because other than that, it was just Corbin maybe just kind of the other standout of this game. So Tommy Henry, I think,
lead off homer.
Praise.
Yeah,
and then that was it for the longest time until the 8th when they made some noise.
Yep.
But yeah, Tommy Henry, like I said, he came in, he got, I believe, a double play or struck out a couple guys.
He did.
So ended that run by the Mets and just kept this game in reach. Which again, it's 5 runs. 5 runs, I think, in the 7th inning. That's still
Yeah,
enough. I think they're down by 4 runs at
that
that point.
we've seen what
That's
this offense does. Like we've seen they go
yeah,
on runs.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like,
So
but the problem is something that we've talked about before. We talked about this last year, even is just the whole thing about the answer backs. Like I know it's fun and it's exciting to be the answer backs, but you can't rely on that day in day out. Like at some point,
okay,
you really got to get to the starting pitcher too. If you can't get to the starting pitcher, then you can't just be like, all right, well, let's just wait until the eighth inning, and then we'll score a whole bunch of runs in the eighth inning. But like to highlight some of these comments here, the like Scott Max and the hitting ineptitude with runner scoring position, and the usual bullpen incompetence. I agree with both of those sentiments. The issue I think with the bullpen incompetence is just, I mean, earlier on I think it was laudatory not doing putting the right guys at the right time. Right now I think with how weak the bullpen is, I don't know. There's a few guys you can rely on, but when the offense isn't scoring, like in this game or another game, it's just you kind of have to use who you have. You can't just put in Shelby
yeah,
Miller and Kevin Ginkel every single time just because they can't really do that. But you have to start using the B and C guys because if you're down 6-1 or it's 3-1 or 1-1, unfortunately you can't use the best guys day in and day out, and so that's why you start getting these lopsided wins because the bullpen can only do so much. The starting pitching can only do so much. But like, let's say the game today or some of the other games where, or especially like this game with Merrill Kelly. Merrill Kelly had to be perfect, and then you could see that when he came out into the seventh, he was starting to nibble a lot more, like because he knew he had to be perfect. It was 1-1, I think, at that point, and yeah, it's just the offense. I think has been struggling mightily, and it's just such a huge issue right
understatement.
now. um, but yeah, like Scott also says, like it's a microcosm of the season. That's how I felt about the Philly series too. It was just being unable to score, the bullpen giving up runs, the starting pitching being good. And I think that's kind of the issue right now. Is the starting pitching for the most part has kept the team in the game. It's just the offense is just completely dead. It's dead on arrival, and you kind of just have to hope that maybe they wake up in the eighth, and they just haven't.
Yeah, they really haven't. Scott is asking, we know anything about Graveman, or is he a rumor? He actually had a
Yeah.
rehab assignment for the Reno Aces tonight. Did really, really well. He pitched in the sixth. He got a line out, ground out, single, and a ground out through where is it? 14 pitches, 17 strikes. So not bad. We're probably looking at probably one more rehab appearance in Reno. So maybe he comes back Saturday during the Dodger series. So we'll just have to wait and see. Tanner also brings up, why do we have pitch to contact relievers? This isn't 2003. This is why I don't like Ryan Thompson. Jalen Beeks, I'm okay with because for the most part he's done good. He's only had like one or two blow up innings. This is why I I like Juan Murillo because of the swing and miss factor. I'm sorry. This is what bullpen arms should be. Bullpen arms are supposed to be swing and miss. Whether you have a good off speed or breaking ball or whether you throw that gas, which we know Murillo has.
Yeah, and that's the
So,
thing is like that's such an like the guys like Ryan Thompson, like I'm sorry, but they're kind of outdated guys. Like they're this not the way the league is anymore. Like before, even going back 10 years, maybe you wanted to get the starting pitcher out so you can get to the bullpen because you're like, all right, this guy's throwing 95. The bullpen is going to be full of guys throwing 85 and 89. Just crafty lefties and righties coming out of the pen, so you knew you can get to them. And nowadays, the starting pitcher throws 100, he goes 4 innings, and then it's a parade of relievers who all also throw 100. Like, and the D-backs are kind of one of those teams where it's not the case. Like, how many guys do we have right now who throw under 95? I feel like it's quite a few of them. And, at least once Puck eventually comes back, Jamar, I think everything seems to be going smoothly with him as well. So hoping we get these guys back and then this bullpen can be at least at a higher capacity because again, I mentioned this. I think might have been the last one or a couple episodes ago where I mentioned like Hazen didn't go out and get the best guys available in the free agent market, and we're seeing it now. Like the Dodgers, sure they have like two starting pitchers right now, but they have a bunch of high-powered relievers that they paid a lot of money for. Like I know Tennis Card had been struggling, but he's doing a little bit better now. Kirby Yates, Brusdar Graterol, and that was a re-signing as well for Brusdar. So it wasn't like, he's one of their prospects or anything. He's a guy that they paid for, and they have quite a few other guys back there, even Kopech to a certain extent. They traded for him, and I think he might still be under that contract, but still, this team has had the opportunity to trade for a reliever, and they haven't just because they held on to certain guys. But also, I just think Hazen kind of dropped the ball and wanted to trust guys like Ryan Thompson, and you're kind of paying for it now.
Yeah. So just want to go over a couple of comments here. Tanner's, I don't think Graven will be much better than Castillo. While they're not the same player whatsoever, like Castillo has, before the season, had only pitched like 20, 30 innings career-wise. Kendall Graveman is, in his career, has been a solid 8th and 9th inning closer. So I think Graveman, I think, is another solid arm that we need, especially with Puck being out till at least, and I'm saying at least the earliest is the All-Star break. So we're going to need another high leverage guy back there. And I just think Graveman's going to do just fine. Scott, we'll be lucky to win one game again. You never know. Like, I think this team just goes to another level when they're facing the Dodgers, because most of these guys were here in 23 when they swept them in the divisional. Like, the only one that really wasn't here is Burns and Naylor. Like, most of the other solid core guys were here for that. So I think they're going to take it up a notch, and maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need some meaningful divisional baseball, because this is the first time we're playing someone in the NL West, and we're at May 7th, and we haven't played anyone in our own division. So I think they're going to definitely turn it on there. Shout out to Shug, one of our resident Dodger fan supporters. Appreciate you for stopping by. And we don't have Walker, which Naylor's playing way better than Walker. I know everyone's like, oh, I wish we had Walker for his defense. He's not playing normal Walker defense, and his bat's really not doing that much for him. But moving on, offense again. Like, this feels like a repeated topic, and you want to know why? Because it continues to be the issue. Like the first 2 or 3 weeks, it was definitely the starting pitching was letting us down. And every so often, it does feel like the bullpen does let us down, but it's this offense. Like, this offense is so hot and cold. It's a very Jekyll and Hyde thing. Like, they'll be really, really good, like kind of the first half of the Sunday game against the Phillies, where they scored a bunch of runs, and then they don't do anything for another 4 innings. Like, it just goes non-existent. They had 4 double plays on offense in this game. That is deflating. Like as a player and as a fan, you're like, all right, we have a shot. We got to run around, ground ball, boom, and it's freaking over. But like, Corbin had a leadoff homer in this game, but that was pretty much it. Like, I know it was 5-4, and that's because of what they did in the 8th. You got Jerry with a walk, Carroll with a walk, Marte with a walk. So you got 3 guys on right off the bat. You got your number 3 guy. So you should feel really, really great with your number 3 guy. And what does he do? It's what he's been doing his last 2 weeks. Strikes out. It's beyond infuriating for me personally. Now, Reed Garrett did get him on a really good splitter. Like that, like, I will give props. And then Naylor got a single. And then there was the Gino that if he hits that to left or to right, it's a homer. There's no doubt. But he decides to hit it the deepest part of the ballpark. And Naylor, what do you do? How do you only get to second base on that ball hit to center? Like, the only thing I can think of is that he thought that Taylor was going to catch it, and he only got about halfway. And, like, we've seen Naylor sometimes run, and it's not fast, ladies and gentlemen. It is not fast. Now, runners in scoring position this game, like they weren't awful. 2 for 6, like it's not awful, but but most of that came in the eighth inning, and that was with the Naylor hit and the Suarez hit. But before that, they just didn't have anybody on in scoring position, so it was infuriating for sure. And it's really though I think the thing that's holding people like if we were losing games, I don't know, 8-6, 9-7, like it wouldn't bother me because I'm all right. Pitching's gonna come around, they're gonna figure it out. But it's the fact that offense just isn't doing anything. And Gabe, would you say this is the offensive struggles? Is it a coaching and game plan issue, or is it player execution?
I mean, I guess that's a good question to ask, especially right now. We're seeing how the Rangers have reacted after they got rid of their pitching coordinator, whatever that is. I don't know if that's the pitching coach or coordinator. It's really weird, but they
No, no, no. So
responded pretty
it
well.
was their offensive coordinator, which is AKA their hitting coach.
Yeah, even though
Because
that's
they
an
have a
NFL
top
term.
5 pitching in baseball, but they're 500 because their offense doesn't help them
Yeah,
out.
but I'm just saying, like, it's such a strange term to use in baseball. An offensive coordinator, and that's such a football term. Like, it's so weird to use it in baseball. So, I mean, I guess he would be on the hot seat a little bit as Joe Mather, I believe.
Correct. Yes, Joe Mather is
Because
the main hitting coach.
that's how this. I mean, this is how they started last year. The offense was really scuffling, and eventually they caught fire, and they were able to work through certain issues. But the problem is, this isn't the same offense. Pavin Smith, and I know Jock Peterson is struggling this year. I know that, but Pavin Smith is not Jock Peterson and isn't what Jock Peterson was last year. And Naylor has been great, but we're missing that Christian Walker pop and pop and power from last season. Again, both not doing well. I know, I understand that. I'm just stating what the difference is from this year to last year when they had basically the same exact setup. Like the offense kind of just didn't change other than Hampson and Tawa. That's kind of the only real difference here. But I do think it's something that they got to figure out, and they got to figure out quick. And I think for the most part, it's the approach. There are so many times where it's first pitch swinging, and then eventually they settle down, they start taking pitches. But the problem with that is they start taking pitches, they get 2 guys on, and immediately the next, if it's 2 guys on, no outs, immediately it's first pitch swinging again, trying to hit, a 5-run home run with the swing. And it's just, really bad. In this case, it was there's 2 men on for Gurriel, and he had a 2-0 count. You would think, like, all right, just take this next pitch. And nope, he swings at a ball damn near the dirt, and he pops out, and so the inning ends at that point. And that's kind of what they've been like, is just get men on, just strike out, and then just a lazy pop fly, and then nothing happens. Even the game that they won, the first 2 or 3 runs that they scored were all on basically fielder's choice. Like, I know they counted them as sacrifice, but it's a fielder's choice. It's a ground ball to the second baseman. Like, it's not the same as a fly out. But I mean, again, they were able to at least score in those cases. But even in this case, it's just not scoring, not doing anything, no productive outs. And in the game today, having Perdomo bunt, and he's been one of the more consistent and best hitters in his lineup, having him bunt. And I know Torrey explained his thought process, but you can explain thought process all day. Like, the one guy who can
I
maybe
get it,
could be,
but you can't, like, if Domo was
not
hitting
with Domo.
So if he was batting 220, 230, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
But he's
if it was-
literally
if
one of the 3 guys in your lineup right now, and he's either first or second in runs driven in on the team. You just can't. You cannot sacrifice that out.
And like I said, if it was Hampson, or I know Herrera's been hitting a little bit better, but if it was Hampson or Herrera, I would understand that, because you're like, all right, these guys are more prone to hitting to double plays and potentially striking out. But also, Kodai saying it's going to be throwing a fork ball. Fork balls are so incredibly hard to bunt against. Like, how are you supposed to bunt against a ball that just drops out of the air like that? It's just so incredibly hard. And I think they should have let Perdomo hit. Like, again, he's one of the better guys on this team. But it's just overall, I think it's a complete struggling offense. I mean, there's maybe 3 guys who have been good all season, and they've had their brief little slumps. And that's Corbin, Perdomo, and Naylor. They've had, and even Alec. I think all four of them have been the only guys who have had these brief stretches where they struggle and then they're able to break out of that and then start producing again. So it's a few games and then they come back. Everyone else either started off really bad and just haven't been able to recover. But if you look at the last 15 games for guys like Gino, I believe he's hitting like 250. Gurriel, I think it's around the same thing, 250 in the last 15 games. So quite a few of these guys are coming back. There's just a few different things here and there where they just need to adjust and need to adjust their approach. But if you give me the floor for a second, I want to talk about Pavin Smith, a tale of two
Oh,
Pavins.
jeez. Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
if
before you
you're
get started, we got a couple of comments that kind of are getting into it. Scott says Smith is regressing to the mean. That's who he is as a hitter, wildly inconsistent. We've been saying this since last season, but you guys kind of was like, "Oh, look, he had his OPS is right with Corbin. It's right with Shohei." Yeah, Pavin 2 for 20. I think it's
29.
Yeah, 2 for 29 is last 29. So not great, but no. Floor is yours on Pavin.
Yeah. So actually, I can even add to that 2 for 29. So before his most recent slump, he already went on a slump. He was 0 for 15. He got the 2 hits, one of which was a home run against Tampa Bay. He got a double, I believe, in the second at bat, and then he struck out or flew out in that at bat. And since that Tampa Bay game on the 21st or 22nd, he is on a over 15 stretch again. He is walking. That is the one thing he is doing. He is walking. But the reason why I said a tale of two Pavins is because I actually have the stats right here. They were very time consuming to get, but I got them. His first 17 games. So here's the thing, that he's played 34 games this season. That's, if you divide that, that's 17. Here are the first half of that season. 17 games, first 17 games. He was 17 for 44. That's a 386 batting average. He had a 460 on base and a 659 slugging. He had 6 walks, 17 strikeouts, which again was high. And then we mentioned it at the time. We were worried about the strikeout rate, coming back to bite him eventually. But that 600 batting average and ball in play, that's real, of course. Even though Aaron Judge has like a 500 batting average and ball in play, but yeah, no, let's believe Pavins. And he had 5 RBI during that stretch. His last 17 games, he is 8 for 43. That is a 186 batting average. His on base is about 340, and his slugging is like 140. That's half the season for him. But yeah, we're made to believe that no, that first half where he was better than Shohei Ohtani, that was the real Pavin with his 40 at bats. Not this one where he's regressed so terribly. And since then, he's also had 4 RBI. This is a 3-hole hitter. He has 4 RBI in 17 games. He has, with today, 17 strikeouts and 16 walks. He's walking, which is great. He's not a 3-hole hitter. He is a 7 or 8 guy. And again, like what I mentioned with Perdomo, that's not an insult. A guy who can walk and turn the lineup over the way Perdomo can and the way Pavin could if he was in the 7th or the 8th hole would be so incredibly valuable. And instead we have him just striking out or maybe walking. And yeah, he's 0 for 3 again today. Again, 0 for 15, his last 15. Before that, only got 2 hits. And then before that, another 0 for 15. So at what point do we just call it and say, Pavin, you got to move down a little bit? Because I tweeted out the stat and people got offended over it. I'm like, it's a stat. Like, I don't know what you want me to say. Like, stats don't care about your feelings. Like, why are you getting offended over me mentioning a stat? Like, sure, I was a little bit sarcastic with it, but it's just frustrating to watch the same thing over and over and over and over again, and nothing changes. Like, yeah, sure, there's guys slumping on this team, which is true, but go back and look at everybody except maybe Hampson has a worse batting average or has a better batting average than Pavin Smith does in these last 15 games. Nobody is as bad as Pavin has been in these last 15 to even 17 games. So I don't think Pavin is this bad, but he's definitely not as good as he was in the first half of the season. And Pavin is probably a 260 hitter, which again, it's fine. but that's not what you want from number 3 because again, he has 9 RBI in the season. He hasn't had an RBI in 13 games.
You
Your
can't
number
have that
3
from you.
hole hitter,
You
and everyone's
can't
like, "Oh,
have that.
who we're gonna put there?" Naylor. Naylor just drives guy. I know he grounds out to a lot of double plays, but he also drives in a ton of runs. He's such a huge run producer, so you can slot him up there. Gino, Pavin, so you can break up, that lefty righty, then Gurriel, and then so on and so on. So there's ways you can put Pavin in this lineup. And again, I'm not hating on Pavin, but the guy isn't producing. Like I don't know what you want me to say. Like when is he going to come out of the slump? And if he does come out of the slump, who is he going to be? Is he going to be better than Shohei Ohtani Paving that we saw in the first half, or is he going to be, an average ball player, which he's been his entire career?
And rant over. But Gabe made some really, really solid points. He's like, this is just like, I don't know if teams adjust to him or he's only good for, I don't know, 50, 60 at bats at a
The main
time.
thing that he was crushing fastballs. That's the main thing. And so what did teams do? They just adjusted him. Like a couple weeks into the season, they adjusted to him, stopped throwing
Like,
him
no,
fastballs.
no
Just
more fastballs.
everything is off speed down and changeups away, and he swings at it every time.
Yeah, but like you said, he gets on base, which is, to be honest, for me personally, if you're gonna get on, like, I don't want you to that number 3 spot. Like, I need that slug in that spot for me, personally. So, M asked a good question. How would you make the lineup? Me personally,
yeah, okay,
is probably gonna be Corbin, Perdomo, Marte, Naylor, and then 5, 6 kind of can fluctuate. Gurriel, Gino, and then Pavin. I put Pavin at 7. And then 8, 9 is probably Alec, and then whoever's catching. And we'll kind of get into what they should do in the catching position for game number 2.
Yeah,
but that's
so
kind of what I would do.
I guess if they're facing a righty, it would be Corbin, Cattell, Naylor, Gino, Pavin. Although I would like him in the 7th or 8th spot, but because he's a lefty, keep him in I believe that would be the 5. Then Gurriel. So I guess it would be Gabby, Alec, and Perdomo.
All right, so you still think Jared should be in the 9 spot? Again, I do too, but I just we need some thump in that number 3 spot, and I think Marte would be a good because if you put Naylor in 3, who do you put in 4? Is kind of my thing, so that's why I'm Marte in the 3. But again, I don't I love Jerry in the 9 hole because it's just it just for me it just lengthens that lineup so much. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't mind Cattell in the 3rd. The only problem, I guess, is just it would take maybe a little bit longer for teams to want to pitch to Corbin because if it's who would you have in the 2 hole? Did you say?
So that one for me was Jerry.
Okay, Perdomo. So I guess Perdomo walks, but I mean, I guess teams would be more willing to let Perdomo beat them instead of having to pitch to Corbin. Like Corbin, sometimes they just seem like they want to pitch around him, and then when they miss, that's when he makes them pay because Cattell is right behind him. And I know Cattell's struggling right now, but again, he's coming back from injury, and we mentioned that on some other podcasts. It's just when he comes back, that's not going to solve anything or everything. He's going to be struggling. Like he hasn't played in a month. You can't expect a guy who hasn't, especially a batter. Like a pitcher, usually they can come back and be okay, but batters, you need a couple more weeks to get your feet wet. And he truly didn't have any starts in Reno either. He just was playing backlog games, which is totally different than even playing in Reno.
Yeah, he was playing sim games. It's literally what he did. So I think that's the one bat that he just needs to get that home run monkey off his bat. I think once he gets that first homer, I think it's gonna change drastically. So I know we went a little long there on game 1, but it kind of it's the same stuff. This freaking offense is infuriating. Game 2, we won game 2 5-1. So, which to me I was all right. So at least we get a season split there. Gabby was a late scratch, and we didn't find out till after the game. It was left side soreness from a play on a Monday, so they were just being a little bit overcautious. But also, I think it's because it seems like Gallen works pretty good with Jose Herrera. Gallen won 7 innings in this. First Dbacks starter this year to go 7 complete innings. Gallen won 6 2/3 against the Yankees, and Erod has also gone 6+ in an outing as well. So career numbers Gallen with Jose Herrera. He spits 184 in the third innings. His ERA is just over 3 at 3.08 with a slash line of 217, 285, 338 for a 623 OPS. So not too bad. With Gabby, a little bit like 30, hold up. Yeah, about 30 more innings or so. He's at 215 with Gabby, a 3.95 ERA, slash a 242, 299, 396 for an OPS of 295. So the OPS is similar, but it's almost a full run less with Herrera than it is with Gabby. And then also so far this year, Jose Herrera has only had 40 at bats, but he has 8 hits. He has the same number of extra base hits with 3. Only has 4 walks, 12 strikeouts. He has an OPS of 598. Gabby on the year is 20 for 86 with a batting average of 233, 3 extra base hits, 5 runs driven in, 10 walks with an OPS of 587. So they're pretty much similar, but Herrera in half as many at bats. So it's definitely like, I know people say it's a discussion we need to have. No, we don't. I'm sorry. You can call me a non-ball knower bias. I don't care what the numbers show. Gabby is the full-time starting catcher. Now with Gallen, I will say I think they should start like now. This is back-to-back starts with Herrera as his catcher. So I personally feel that Herrera should be his personal catcher. But Gabe, do you think that they should kind of transition to this full time and just have this go for a month or two? Like Herrera's out with them every 5th day.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way a little bit just because it seems like he has a good repertoire with Herrera, and here's the thing with Herrera is just as a catcher, like as a play caller, I do love him. It's just unfortunately he just doesn't hit very well, and he doesn't have the strongest arm. So he is a guy that I can see becoming a great manager one day because
Yes.
of the way he's able to read guys. He's able to read swings. Like even in the Erod game, he put in I believe it was like a slider, and Erod shook him off a couple times, and then he kept putting the slider down. And then finally, okay, he put the slider down. He got the strikeout off of oh, I can't even remember who it was. Might have been like Castellanos or something. I can't remember who it was, but it was something like that. Like he's a great play caller, and he's able to read swings really well, and that's so I do like seeing him play, and at least in the behind the plate and calling the plays. And guys seem to like him, and he's the one who noticed Merrill was cramping up before anyone else did, and he was in the dugout. He wasn't even catching during that day, so with him, like I said, I do like him a lot, and I think we
So he
maybe should.
wasn't in the dugout. He was catching form while Gabby was putting the
Oh
gear
yeah,
on.
in between innings. Yeah, there we go.
So that's when he saw it.
So
Like,
so he wasn't playing, but he caught it like right away that Merrill was cramping up and calling the trainers and everything before Merrill even said anything. And I mean, that's just something a great manager would notice, and I think that's what he is. He's a great field general, but he just doesn't have the arm for it, and he hasn't had the swing for it as well. Hopefully, what we've been seeing from him recently, that could be a switch. Like again, he doesn't need to be a 280 guy. If he's a 220 guy, I do think it's going to help this team a lot. And we've seen guys have personal catchers before. We saw Greinke with Jeff Mathis.
yep.
If Gallen feels comfortable with him, and this is the type of Gallen we can get,
I'm all for it.
just keep throwing him out there. Like I don't like having Gabby sit so much, but maybe you can just make him Gallen's personal catcher, and they maybe get a spot start here and there with Corbin Burns or Merrill or something. Then just like Gabby catch the other four guys.
Yeah. Gabby, I don't think has played 3 games in a row all season, by the way. Now, is that because they're being overly cautious because of prior years and his injury? Is it because he really isn't hitting well? Because he was barreling up the baseball like crazy in spring. Like I was like, oh damn, we're getting 15 to 20 homers from Gabby. Nope. Literally, as soon as the season started, like Gabby completely changed what he was doing. Like his approach definitely seems like he's not pulling the ball at all. He's putting everything in Gabby Lane, which I don't have a problem with because when it works, but that can't be your entire approach. Like you do need to pull the ball a little bit, and like we're not getting any slug out of Gabby. The fact that in literally half as many at bats, Jose Herrera has almost as many runs driven in as Gabby, a very similar OPS. Like it is a little bit concerning. But again, for me, I don't know if it's because he doesn't get to play consistently. Because we do know how important it is for a lot of these guys to play day in and day out to kind of work through things. I feel that's also why Grichuk hasn't looked that great. We have faced very few left-handed pitchers. It's been a lot of right-handed. Now, last week, we have faced like I think 3 or 4 at this point. So Grichuk has gotten some playing times. He's looked a little bit better, but like for Gallen, yeah, I'm fine with Jose Herrera being the catcher on the day, but I think Gabby is the future of this. Like Jose Herrera is not a starting catcher. Come on, like be like use luck. Like don't be the slave to the numbers. Like a lot of people just like look at numbers. Like nope, that's you. You have to use logic in normal baseball sense along with the numbers. You can't. You just can't. You can't just
I think this is something we've seen from Gabby before too. Like last year and the year before that, he starts off slow in the first couple of months. He's like a 220, 230 guy, and then suddenly he just starts using what Steve calls the Gabby Lane, and suddenly you can't get him out. He starts producing. He hasn't really shown that much power, which again it's fine. He can hit a lot of doubles, but still, I think we're maybe towards the mid to late May, he might start to show the signs that he is going to be hitting better. And I think at that point, he needs to play 4 out of the 5 or 6 games that we have a week. You can't keep resting him as much as they do because again, how is he going to get his rhythm? Like it's hard to get your rhythm when you're playing three days a week, and or getting a random at bat.
But then, like everyone likes to bring up, like he hasn't looked great that year, and is that why they're sitting him? No, they are sitting him because they are worried about his health. So I think right now they would rather him play 3 days a week, and then June and July is when they start playing him because they're going to need him for that home stretch. So
yeah, and that's what I'm hoping for is just that they do, coming into June, July, they do let most of these guys kind of run loose and actually start playing every day. And Gabby is one of them. Like, look at Will Smith. Will Smith catches so many games that I think everybody forgot Austin Barnes is still on the Dodgers. When was the last time you saw Austin Barnes catch? Like, he's their secondary catcher. The last time he caught was like a few days ago.
He's an awful catcher too. But like you need 2 catchers.
You need 2 catchers, but also he's Clayton Kershaw's personal catcher. And the Dodgers kind of just waiting for Kershaw so they can use Austin Barnes with them. But same thing with Alejandro Kirk. He plays every day. Adley Rutschman plays every day. I think almost every good catcher in this league. Realmuto is like 48, and he's playing every single day. Like, you might have 1 day off a week. And so for me, I'm like, well, why can't Gabby do that? Like, I know was it Jack Summers, I think, had that article, and it was mostly centered on the bullpen, how they're using stuff. But Gabby, I think you gotta stop using these guys with kid gloves. Like these guys gotta play mostly every day. And even with Pavin, like he's struggling, but they're also just platooning him so much against left-handed hitters. And I'm like,
They won't even give him a shot.
they
They're
won't
like,
even give
no,
him any
lefty.
sort of shot. They're like, no. I'm like, and if you're facing nothing but left-handed hitters, he's maybe getting one or two at bats during the series, and like that's not going to help him with his progression or help him get any better or get out of the slump that he's on. Same with Alec. Like Alec has been hitting decent. It's a very small sample size, but still, he needs to be out there every day. Like especially with Jake gone, Hampson, had a really, really great play in this game specifically. I tweeted about it. The Vientos, it looked like it was a clear double. Like out of the bat, you're just like, damn, he got it. And then Hampson, just the way he plays it off, he got on a hop, he like bent all the way down, threw it straight to second. He threw a bullet, and he was able to give Vientos to first, and then Gallen got the double play. Vientos get to second, they get the ground ball, he moves to third, and then you don't know if things go a little bit awry after that. And but either way, I think after a couple months from now, the guys who need to play every day have to play 6 out of the 7 days, I guess, as much as that's possible.
Yeah. So I think there's still a lot to work on. It like I know it's kind of like a funny gimmick, like it's early, but it is like you haven't even played 60 games. It sometimes it takes teams 60 to 70 games to figure things out, and then they get into a rhythm, and that's when you see teams win 6 to 7, 9 to 10, 12 to 13, and then we're fine. So like I know right now it looks worrisome. It's only because of what the Padres and Giants are doing. Both of these teams will not be able to keep this up the entire year. It's just how the season is built. Teams cannot keep up this high quality of playing good baseball. We're just not playing good baseball right now. And this is standard. Like this team does this every year. We see glimpses where we're like, oh, this team's good. And then we see teams where they just don't play very well. And you can tell that it is pissing Torey off because there's only so much he can do as the manager when they install a game plan if guys just don't execute. So I think we're going to be fine. But we have talked about this numerous times. We're like, we need one of these cold bats to get hot. And I think one of them is Lourdes Gurriel had a massive home run in this game, in game 2, that turned it from a 2-1 game to a 4-1 game. Like it was 2-1 there in the 6th. I'm like, we can't. Like you brought it up in our group chat. You're like, we need to score, and then they did. So Gurriel's been very, very hot the last week. He's 9 for 27, 2 homers, 5 RBI, 2 walks, and 3 doubles. So it's almost a 1,000 OPS. We've seen this from Gurriel all the time. Literally outside, like him and Gina, like we have 2 of the most streaky players in all of Major League Baseball. And I think people got worried in April because we hadn't seen him be cold streaky to start the season. And recency bias is a big thing with sport fans. All they can think about is, what have you done for me lately? And the fact that Gurriel hadn't been hitting lately. But it definitely seems like he is playing very, very well, which is what this team needs. So how, like, do you think the month of May could be like a complete 180? Like, could he finish the month with like an 800 or a 900 OPS, you think?
Yeah, we talked about it, I think, a few weeks ago. Even then, we mentioned that he was making really hard contact, especially during that Mets series where he was just smoking balls, but they were going straight to defenders, and we're all like, all right, like clearly he's gonna, those balls eventually find gaps, and he's able to get hits off of those. And I think a couple series before that as well, he was just smoking balls, and you're just like, all right, so everything's coming out of 100. Same with guys like Alec, like their exit, the exit velocity on these, you're like, okay, at some point it's going to even out, and they're going to be able to find gaps, and then they're going to in this case not regress to the mean, but they're going to progress to the mean where they'll finally start falling. And I think Gurriel has been sneaky good for a lot longer than we think. I mean, look at his last 15 games. He's batting
last 50.
276, 302 with the 483. You want to see that on base creep up a little bit more, maybe be closer to 330. But that's 780 or so OPS. Again, not great, but very, very good. And I think we've seen him slowly start to break out of that. He's still taking a few offers, but he'll take an over today, and tomorrow he's going to go 2 for 4 with the a triple, or not a triple, a double, and maybe even a home run as well. So he has been very streaky, but I think because of what we're seeing, because of the power from these last 7 games where he has over 1,000 OPS, or over 1,000 OPS, like I think we're getting to that point where we're going to see a Gurriel end the month of May with a 400 average and like in 1,100 OPS that we've seen time and time and again with him. And I think it's incredibly valuable to have a guy like that because of where he gets in the lineup. Like, you can't have this many guys slumping, and we mentioned it before. Like,
it doesn't last forever. Like, people like this doesn't last for long. Like, they
Even
eventually like I know everyone is frustrated with Gino, and I get it. I'm like, he did this last year, and what he did in the second half, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt to work his way through it. I just am.
Same thing with Gino. Last 15 games, 255, 323, 509 slugging. So also an 800 OPS, and again, a little bit better than we all think he is, just because of the way he started. And again, just I think it's more the situational hitting. But again, they're scoring runs for the most part. You just want them all to be clicking at the same time. And right now, they're all hit or miss. It'll be Gino has a great game, and then Gurriel has a bad game, and then Gino has a bad game, Gurriel has a good game. So it's just a lot of that, and we can't just keep relying on Corbin to do all the offense. Like today, just the home run. That was it. Like, you can't just keep relying on him to do everything.
And I was like, yay, no shutout.
These guys really, really need to start pulling their weight and start earning their money and their contracts, because you can't have these sort of games where you're shut out or score 2 runs over and over and over again. Like, a lot of the comments are saying that this doesn't look like a playoff team, and I agree with them. I do think
right now, yes, I will agree with that.
This is still a playoff team. As of right now, the way they look, they're not a playoff. The playoffs started today. This team would be out as soon as possible against any team that's above them right now. And the main thing we just want to harp on is just don't let it get late early. If they get swept by the Dodgers, I think we can count out the division, even though it would be not even mid-May, but I think at that point we could count out the division because it would be 10 games.
Like that
would be incredibly hard, and they could even fall to, I think, 6 games behind the Giants and like 4 or 5 behind Philadelphia, and that's a really big hole to climb. Last year, at their worst, they were 6 games behind the last wild card, and again, they made a big comeback. Didn't matter. They missed the playoffs by a game, and it was a tiebreaker, which we've been saying tiebreakers do matter. You should be, you should be able to win these games, and Philadelphia is one of those. I don't remember exactly when we see them again, but Philadelphia is a team they at least have to split when we see them again.
Yeah. So luckily there's still 120 games left in the season. So it's definitely plenty of time to make things up. Again, there's still we've had a rough start. Like our schedule to start the season wasn't easy, and the fact is we were a couple games over 500 without Cattell for almost a month, and I think people are forgetting we were without Cattell for that period of time. So I think I'm not like with a lot of people that like, oh no, this season's over. And I also disagree with you that this is a must series win. I still think it's too early to say anything is a must win at this point. But definitely at least a split is good. I'm not going to say, oh, season's over if we get swept. I'm not going to feel great about it. I'll tell you that, but I'm not
Yeah,
saying
not over, not over. But I think we can count the division over. Like this team is not winning the division if they go
we
10
don't
games.
play the Phillies again and it's at home till September 19th.
And by then, you would hope this team doesn't need to beat the Phillies. You would hope that this team
Correct.
is in it no
We
matter what.
well, so schedule wise, our last six, three against the Dodgers, three against the Padres. So big divisional games, which is what you want. Like you want those games to matter. So just need offense to get it together. So we'll move on to game three here real quick. We're running a little bit long. Game started today. Merrill Kelly continues to be dominant. Like I know the final stat line like doesn't look great. Like 6 1/3, 6 hits, 306 Ks, but when your offense doesn't score for you, like what are you supposed to like? There's only so much you can do. And that's how it's felt like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Is that pitching is doing its job, keeping us in the game, but offense gets 1 run through 6 or 2 through 6. Like you can't expect your starting pitching to go literally like perfect every start. So offense definitely needs to hold their weight. What would you attribute to Kelly's success? Now, good thing there was no cramping issues in this game. Could it have been the pickle juice that fans were sending to Kelly, which I thought was hilarious? Like, what would you say is the reason? Is it they have good game plans going? Is it finally things are working well with Kaplan? Because I feel like the entire starting pitching has been really well. Or is it just getting into the rhythm of the season? Because we talked about early on how like the team likes to slow roll their starting pitchers in spring training, so that they really don't get ramped up till the second or third week of April.
I think that's what it is. It's just the fact that they slow roll them so much during spring. Like they give them maybe one start where they let them go the 4, 5, 6 innings. And I think with Merrill just being an older guy, he needs maybe a little bit more time to get ready and into the rhythm of a season. Like a lot of these young guys out of spring, they're ready to go. And Kelly being a little bit older with his cramping issues, I think he, he gets slow rolled, and so that makes it so he doesn't have that many innings under his belt coming out of spring. So I think now in this last few starts, I believe it's the last 3 or 4 starts that he's gone. I think the last 3 of the 4 starts have been quality starts, if not borderline quality starts, just because of the cramping. But today, quality start, 6 1/3, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts. That's what you want. That's Merrill Kelly. That's the best third starter in baseball right there. If we get you that sort of stats,
So the only
day
one
in,
that wasn't a quality start was at the Phillies, but it was because like if he would have
and
finished that inning, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 5 quality starts in a row.
yeah, exactly. So he's been very, very good. And like I said, that one, he was at 60 pitches.
It was.
Yeah,
That's
he
what's
was
frustrating. I'm
cruising.
like he's going 7. Like I'm like this man's going 7 right now.
This is a guy who can go 6, 7 innings, and it just depends. I think this is one of these games where the offense really affected him. The fact that he couldn't get more than 1 run. If the only way this team would have won today was he pitched a 9-inning shutout. That's it.
Yeah.
Because of the way with how much they scored or how little they scored. With Gallen, that's why I mentioned, like, man, they really got to score, and they were able to put up at least 3 runs for him. So he wasn't nibbling the way Merrill ended up having to nibble in that inning, because we've seen this before, especially with Merrill and Gallen. It's like once they realize it's 1-1 and it's the 6th, 7th inning, they start to nibble just because that's kind of what they have to do. They want to keep the ball away from these guys, and so they don't make contact because they know a home run, they take the lead, and so they put their team in a position to lose. And with Merrill in this case, I think that's kind of what happened to him. He just started nibbling, he gave up a couple of walks, and then the runs ended up scoring. And same thing with the bullpen. The bullpen comes in, they have to use the BNC guys just because of the way the game was already going, and then ended up being what it was. Like the offense just they need to pull their weight, and I think if the offense pulls their weight, I think it's gonna make it so most of these guys are able to keep repeating these quality starts, because not just him. Gallen has had a run of quality starts. Corbin Burns, I believe, has had 5 almost quality starts. I believe there's one where he also pitched like 5 innings. Erod, I think he's had one real blow up, but everything else has been 5 innings or 6 innings, quality starts. Like for the most part, the pitching has adjusted. They have been rolled, and it was a slow rollout, but I think they've all gotten to the point where they're all comfortable where they are. And I think whatever Kaplan is doing, it has been working for them. And because they're not winning, I think it makes everything look a lot worse than it actually is.
So yeah, Bird's pretty much his first two starts, they weren't great. Yankees, he went 4 2/3. Only gave up 2 earned, but he had 98 in the fifth, so he wasn't going to make it. Against Washington as well, didn't look that great. 5 innings, 4 earned. But since then, he's had technically 3 quality starts. He went 5 1/3 against Tampa. Like, the starting pitching is starting to look like what we thought it could be, and that's a top 10 starting rotation in all of baseball. We need the offense to match that. Like, we need to get this off. Like, if this offense goes top 15, gets us 4 to 5 runs a game.
And the thing is, when
we
you're
are talking about a team that's probably 5 games over 500 and not 1 game over. Like, that's, I think, how much this changes.
And when you're talking about being a top 15, the thing is, if you look at their stats and where they are, league wide, they are in top 10 of basically every offensive stat. But that's something that if you're just like a scoreboard watcher, and specifically this is a stat board watcher, I guess, you're not going to see the whole picture. And the whole picture of this team is same thing as last year. They'll have the one blow up game where they just score 10 runs. Next two, they score 5 combined. So then they average 5 runs a game.
Yeah, they're
right now
fifth in runs, eighth in home runs.
They're fifth in runs, eighth in home runs. So you see a lot of those stats. I think even on base percentage, they're in top 10. Average are top 15. OPS, I believe they're even
13. Yeah.
Well.
On base, they're 9th. Slugging, they're 4th, mainly because of Gino and Corbin. Yeah, they literally have half of the home runs.
And same with Gino. Yeah, it's like it's one of those things where it's like you see it and you're like, okay, like this team is hitting really well, but then when you dig into the actual numbers and something people hate, context. If you look at the context of when these runs are coming and how the runs are scoring, you would see the whole picture. And just the fact that same as last year is just one game where they have all the offense in the world. Everybody goes 3 for 4. Some guys go 4 for 4 and they raise up their averages, and then they really struggle the next 2 games. So then again, you look at the series and you're like, oh wow, they scored 5 runs per game. Well, they lost 2. And that's why. It's just they scored 10 in the beginning, 2 in the next, and then 3 in the next. And it's just kind of like this, this quirky stat of baseball. And that's kind of the issue that they had last year as well. They scored the most runs and were the best offense in baseball. But if you dig into the numbers a little bit more, you would see that 15 runs in one game is going to get you the best offense in baseball. But 2 runs in the next 2 games, you can lose a lot of games.
Literally, they could score 10 in one, and then they go 10. They score 10 over the next 4. Like, it's so infuriating to watch because you're like, we know this is a good offense. It's just sometimes they're not clicking. So, we end up losing this series. I think we've lost 5 of our last 6. I think the only one we've won is the Mets series, technically, because we lost to the Mets, lost the Phillies, won the Mets. Lost the Braves, lost the Rays, lost the Cubs, and then we swept the Marlins. So yeah, it's not like it doesn't feel great right now. I get it. I think we're okay. I think we definitely have things that we need to work on. Like, if offense, if we can get 1 or 2 of these guys to start hitting outside of Corbin, Domo, and the Naylor, if we can add 2 or 3 more, at least half your lineup can be hitting. So that will be nice. So moving on, we got a big 4-game series against the Dodgers. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, we do get to see the new City Connect Serpientes jerseys. So that's going to be very exciting. I will be there on Friday. So pitching matchups. Thought versus Yamamoto on Thursday. Erod versus Sasaki on Friday. Burns, probable for Saturday against Dustin May. And then Sunday is just Gallen, and then Dodgers as of this moment, have not declared a starter for that. This series, I have no idea. I truly don't, because we're not really playing that great of baseball right now. Dodgers are, so Dodgers could absolutely come in and just absolutely wreck us for 4 games. Freddie Freeman is in his 15th season is playing absolutely insane. I think he's a more MVP candidate than Shohei. Now, if you ask Ben Verlander, who knows what he's going to say about Shohei Otani? For me, I mean, a series win would be dope. It's like series win would be spectacular. I'll be okay with a split. The only thing that I won't be is a sweep. A sweep might change my tune, because then at that point I think we're 3 games under 500. In the middle of May, like things definitely are being on the downside. Like if we get swept, Twitter's gonna be like, it's gonna be just fire Tory, fire Tory, fire Tory. Like, can we please come? Like, it's not always on Tory. Sometimes it is. Like that decision today to bunt with your best, like literally one of your best players with no outs. Like, I get what you're doing. Like having a guy on second and third with 1 out is a good idea. And Jared's the only guy that really can bunt. So I get the decision, Tory. I don't. No, today was not on Tory. That one decision was, but what about the other 7 innings that offense decided to not show up? That is not on Tory. Like, unless Tory decides to put on a helmet, put on some cleats, and grab a bat, like there's only so much he can do in terms of a game plan. And we've talked about it at length on this episode. It's the offense. Offense needs to step up. And I just think with the Dodgers coming to town, I think they're all gonna want to play well. So I could truly see us taking 3 or 4, but I could also see us getting swept.
Yeah, I think this is a toss-up for me. I truly don't know, just because they haven't played in division. If we have played maybe a couple series in division, I think I would have a better idea. But they just haven't. And right now, with the bullpen the way it is, the offense the way it is, I truly don't know. The Dodgers, most of these guys don't go past 5 innings, but they have a great bullpen. The offense, they have the same issues as the Dbacks, where they do struggle with runners in scoring position, but they just hit so many home runs. And so they just win so many games. There's just so many games where they outslug guys or outslug teams. So be ready to have maybe a couple games where the Dodgers score 10 runs on the D-backs, and it's going to suck. And yeah, Twitter is going to be, seems like it's going to be a mass jumping off the bridge event.
Yeah.
With the way
if we
some of these games
like,
are going to go.
I don't remember what game it was last week, but like I was like freaking Twitter fingers with like people like just blaming stuff on basically not the players. They're like, this loss is on Tory. I'm like, how is this on Tory?
Yeah.
Did Tory play?
And I think
so I got to make sure to not do that. So I was like, all right, let's put my phone away and just.
Tanner brings up a good point in the comments saying about Hazen just sat on the on his hand, or was it? Yeah, on his hands with this offense, and that's something we brought up, in our season preview, where all of us felt he didn't do enough offensively, and the only guy that the team was like saying, yeah, this is going to be our DH. It was Randall Grichuk, who did have a good year last year, but in limited time, and he's in Pavin Smith, and that's why we're all like, oh, I would have liked Jock.
Yeah.
I think everybody, obviously hindsight is 2020, but at the time, even then, we all felt like Hazen let this team down with the offense, because he did nothing. He got Garrett Hampson, and that's it. This team lost, or obviously Naylor. Naylor, obviously, I guess him and Walker could be, a 1-for-1, which is good. But in terms of the DH, that DH spot is so valuable. And to just get Grichuk, who didn't sign until, was it February or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And Pavin, where you're just, I guess, again, he did start off hot, but he's been very bad in the last 17 games. But it was something where we all felt like he let this team down, and we're seeing the consequences of that. Like, you need to add guys to an offense, and especially for what the Yankees paid for Paul Goldschmidt and what he's producing right now. That's the one that hurt me the most. That's where we were all like, "That's it," like 12 million or whatever was that they paid to Goldie. And right now, Goldie, I think, is still hitting a well over 300. Like, he's killing it. And can you imagine Goldschmidt hitting in the 3 spot on this team every day, sharing that first base spot with Naylor?
So I think we can't compare because of who he's hitting behind. It's the same reason why freaking Soto went off for power last year. Who's hitting in front of Judge? So like, and I know the fan base loves Goldie, and I was like, yeah, try and get him, but like, again, first of all, we don't know. Did they ever reach out? Did they even try? Or was it one of those things Goldie didn't want? Like, it's possible Goldie didn't want to come here at all. That is entirely possible. That he kind of just moved on from this team but one question that I wanted
could be the case, but again, like I felt like this team should have at least made more. I mean, JD Martinez had an excellent year last year. He still hasn't signed, and with him, I believe he said he's not willing to take less money just because. And I know a lot of people, will crap on him because of that and say, "Oh, we're not worth that much." But the thing is, he's asking for his market value, and if he accepts under market value, then that means the guys, who are hitters like him, like the Paul Goldschmidts of this world, they're going to get lowballed for, generations to come.
Yeah. So is JD? I want to check. There it is. So his all right. So I mean, he's pretty good. Like, he's pretty balanced in terms of his batting average. He does slug a little bit better versus lefties. I did want to bring up one comment that Scott made earlier. If we get swept by LA, sort of on the hot seat, I don't think because of this series, but if they are, I'm saying 10 games under 500 June 1st, maybe. Like, I know I've always said there's no way Mike Hazen fires Torrey, but if this team is well under 500 by like June 1st, June 15th, I could see it. If this team hovers around 500 the entire year, it's not happening, because they're going to be like, oh, we just got to get hot for 2 weeks and we'll be good. So it's going to take something crazy to happen. Like, this team's going to have to like really underperform. I'm talking 10 to 15 games under 500 for Mike Hazen to pull that move. And yeah, like brings up a solid point. Hazen might need to put some blame on himself. Absolutely. Did not get enough depth for the bullpen. Didn't really improve the offense that much other than trading for Naylor. And I know everyone likes to say, why hasn't Torrey had Lawler brought up? Everyone keep in mind, Torrey is not 100% responsible for who's at the major league level. It is also on Mike Hazen. It could be a Mike Hazen thing. It could be a Torrey thing. It could be a mixture of both. Or it could just be they want him to get more minor league at-bats. Because he's still, I think, career-wise, only like 250 minor league at-bats. Like, yeah, it's great. He is just playing great down there. But I don't think they're going to do it. But please surprise me. Please bring him up soon.
Yeah, I think, especially for the Dodger series, if he comes up during this Dodger series, I think not only would it change our expectations for the series, but I think the fan base would get really, really behind that. And I think, it would be a huge boost to this team and to this fan base, because I mentioned it on Twitter the other day. Like, this team has been yearning for a good baseball team. Half the stadium was wearing purple on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The jerseys just came out, and this team was ready to buy anything purple that this team took out. And because, we've been clamoring for 20 years to bring back the purple. Once they did, everyone is wearing it. So I can see tomorrow's game just being a sea of purple.
I think that's going to be Friday. Like, Friday with the players wearing the new City Connects and the fans doing it too. Like, it's going to be like it. Like, you won't be able to tell that there's Dodger fans. Like, you're just going to see purple. So we do appreciate everyone for stopping in today to recap the Metzers, and to kind of vent about this team, like offense hasn't been great. And it like you really start to wonder, like, is this team a playoff team or not? Based on how they've been playing the last 2 weeks, I agree with everyone. No, this is not a playoff team. So appreciate everyone for stopping by. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you follow and subscribe over there. Check us out on Twitter. Got some banger memes there created by Gabe. Instagram and TikTok as well. We will see y'all on probably Sunday.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brett and Gabe on the call with Josh in the back, bringing it in.